On August 4th, 2020, the stagnating Battle Royale genre finally got the much-needed innovation it had been seeking and needing since the release of Fortnite in 2017. The genre began with the South Korean video game company Bluehole Studio and their hit game PlayerUnknown's Battlegrounds, which is a stupid fucking name by the way, so people called it PUBG for short. That came out in 2016. Then Epic Games' Fortnite basically stole PUBG's formula and made it better and cartoony, similarly in the vein of Blizzard's Overwatch in 2017. Then a bunch of other Battle Royale games came out to cash in on the craze. Then Activision's Call of Duty franchise also cashed in on the craze with their game Warzone that no one really gave a fuck about. However, there's always been a pattern to the Battle Royale madness, and that is every Battle Royale game I've spoken of or shown here so far has also been from the shooter genre. Which makes sense. The meaning of the word is to fight to the death, so put 100 players on a map with weapons, guns, and ammunition on the ground for them to kill each other with and outlast competition to be the last man standing. That sounds like a winning combination. But like with everything, the inspiration well is eventually going to run dry, which then begs the question, does every Battle Royale game always have to be the same game over and over again? Well, fortunately, now we have Fall Guys.
Though technically Tetris 99 broke the trend of Battle Royale shooters first in February 2019.
But anyways, the Mad Lads at Mediatonic had the bloody genius idea of turning the last man standing format of Battle Royale into a game show-esque format, with 60 bean-like combatants battling out in a myriad of events, until only one player is left the victor in the final event. Inspired by the likes of Takeshi's Castle and Wipeout, I was excited to hear about this since I'd hoped it'd bring me back to the days of a kid when I'd have my parents' VHS tape episodes of Max-C so I could watch them whenever I got home from school. Unfortunately, that wasn't entirely the case, as instead of a game show, the game more so plays like Mario Party minigames, especially the team games and the perfect match game, which definitely kills the whole game show aesthetic. Now to talk about the game itself, and to give my best and honest opinion on the game as a whole, I'm going to review every single minigame of the 25 minigames currently available in Season 1. The game is based on a set of rounds, so only certain games show up depending on which round is currently taking place. Because of this, you can see a lot of repeats from the minigames, to the point the game can get tiring, repetitive, and, well, boring rather quickly, which makes this game really good if you play it an hour at a time, but much longer than that, and the game's going to stagnate. Coming October, though, the game will be entering its second season, which will be based on a medieval theme and will introduce new costumes and events. So let's keep that in mind while I list off my rankings for the 25 minigames, currently in Fall Guys Season 1. At number 25, we're starting in the finals with the game Royal Fumble, for the main reason that it doesn't fucking exist! I did 6 streams of this game, streaming it for maybe final total of 8 hours, and not once did I get Royal Fumble in the finals. I started writing this review on September 8th and started streaming and playing this game on August 20th. It wasn't until I streamed I did with my friend Polterghost on September 6th, I was literally titled Fall Guys trying to get Royal Fumble to show up in the finals, god damn it, that I finally see this game show up in the finals, 40 minutes in the stream. I didn't want to start this review until I could get footage of that game myself, and was it worth it? No. Royal Fumble is a giant obstacle course where one player has a tail, and the goal is to be the player with the tail at the end of 1 minute 30 second time limit. Now, there's 2 other tail related games on top of this one, but they aren't as shitty, and taking 7 streams plus countless offline games I played to finally show up in the finals makes me quite upset, so they'll show up later on the list. In the one game of Royal Fumble I managed to play, I got the tail 15 seconds in, held it for about a minute before Monkey Bean stole it, and then I went into a corner and cried about decisions I made in my life just as the game had concluded. I think I was better off this game never showed up. Oh, and here's the reaction I had to it finally showing up for once before the crushing reality came in. Only 5 of us, so I'm guessing it's gonna be something short. Probably Hexagon or Fall Mountain. Maybe in Jump Showdown. Or maybe I'll get fucking Royal Fumble finally.
Nah.
Oh, you're right. It doesn't exist. Yeah! Yes! Oh, I got it finally. Oh, this looks horrible.
Wow. Are you sure you wanted this?
Nope. Now I'm certain I don't.
What if tailgate, but only 5 people?
This game probably isn't the worst, and I probably spent a lot of time trashing it, but it's 25th here mostly out of spite. For real though, at 24th, 23rd, and 22nd are the worst games in Fall Guys, and these would be Fall Ball, Hoarders, and Rock and Roll. The games that involve the use of pushing or hitting balls into a net, or in Hoarders' case, your side of the field. I put them here because I can't for the life of me figure out how the hell the physics on these damn balls work. Sometimes they'll go flying on you, and other times you'll hit it with all your might just to fall over and have the ball move 1 inch. Which then leads into my issue with these games, and that that is that I'm shit at them. Well, okay, that's my main issue with them. But in reality, all three have glaring issues behind them. In fall ball's case, there are several. First, it's soccer of 2 balls. Soccer is already a bland, boring, and shit sport. Even your announcers have to fake excitement over another team scoring by yelling goal and prolonging it for a fucking minute. Rocket League did a really good job at making the sport look potentially fun, but Fall Guys just overcomplicates it and unbalances it with a second ball in the mix. Like, who the fuck thought this was a good idea? To make matters worse, the goals also have slopes on them. So if the ball gets past the bean or beans who automatically decided they want to be goalie, since there's no fucking way to communicate with anybody in the game, which is a problem with the team games in general, it's basically a guaranteed goal for whatever team got the goal. Another problem I have with the game is that a match of it is 3 minutes long. By fucking far the longest minigame of the game. So I'll come clean and say, if I get scored on 4 times in the first minute, and my teammates are either faffing about or already quit, I just menu out of the game because fall ball can make my blood boil at times. Which is unfortunate because the game always shows up in the rounds right before the finals. And if you menu out, you lose all experience and money you would have received for making it that far. Which is good on the game developers on implementing a system that punishes players for rage quitting, but with fall ball, a lot of the time I just don't care. You get shit all for experience and money anyways unless you're a crown champion, which we'll get to later on in the review. Final thing I want to bring up on fall ball is you'd think this game would only show up if there are an even number of teams left, right? Wrong. It can show up when there are uneven players as well, and every time it does, you're going to be on a team 1 man down because that's just how life works. God hates you, and life is unfair. Though when you do get to be on a team with players' advantage, you feel like Kramer sliding into Jerry's apartment in Seinfeld. Whereas with the other team, you feel like Michael Richards after his Laugh Factory incident in 2006. I'm out. Anyways, enough of Kramer and fall ball. Now it's time to get mad at a different game, Hoarders. The problem with Hoarders just lays in its overall design. Whichever team has the least balls in their court after time is up is eliminated. That means that the entire match up until then is meaningless, which is either just poor or lazy game design. I haven't decided which yet. I feel like Hoarders just needs a total redesign before it can really be considered decent. Make it like a point-based game where you get a point every time a ball gets on your side of the court, or an overall time-based score that goes up the longer you have balls on your side of the court. Though that might be hard to program, I have no fucking clue. I'm just a loser on the internet who swears a lot and yells about video games. I don't like the ball games in general as stated, but there is potential in this one at least for it to improve. Anyways, I have nothing really else to say about Hoarders other than it shares a problem every team game with 3 teams has, where if you're losing, the other teams gang up on you and there's nothing you can do about it but accept it and blame all your other teammates for being too shit to carry you. As for rock and roll, and this might be a controversial one, but I just can't for the life of me figure this one out. 3 teams have to navigate a ball through an obstacle course and down a giant ramp into a net, and the last team to do so is eliminated. And there are a number of strategies you can enact here to do it, but they all suck. You can either help your team navigate the ball through the obstacle course at the start, or run ahead and try to stop an opponent's ball once it drops down from the ledge after finishing the obstacle course. But both tasks come with their own challenges. Moving the ball through the obstacle course is a challenge since the controls feel like they don't work. Physics don't work, too many other players are clambering onto the ball at once, and your teammates prove to you that they are barely sentient beings. But trying to stop another ball from rolling to the goal is like pushing Sisyphus's rock. It reminds me of that Boulder Mountain game from Takeshi's Castle, or an episode of Gaki no Sky 24-Hour No Laughing Batsu. The ball is just unstoppable and inevitably topples over top of you no matter how hard you try to stop it. But on the other hand, I see other teams able to stuff my ball in the corner no problem. Eventually the ball will roll to a point where it is impossible to stop it, and 70% of the time, my ball is usually the one to never make it. This game just frustrates me, and a piece of me just dies every time I get this game before the finals. In 21st place, it's Tiptoe, a game that usually shows up in the 4th round. Players have to figure out the correct path to the goal by moving onto the correct set of platforms, and the first however many the game says can qualify to cross that finish line moves on to the finals. This one is just shitty in its design. It's a complete crapshoot if you make it to the finish or not, since the game always winds up being 10 beans on the same platform until someone is either stupid or has
massive enough balls
to step onto another platform, or until someone shoves another player onto another platform, in which the platform either lights up or disappears. Odds are you're probably going to fall off the course at least once, and it is soul crushing if it is at the end of the course. Rounding out the bottom 5, in 20th place, it's Perfect Match, for the fact that it is fucking boring to play. Like those crappy Mario Party games you really hate to see show up in rotation, Perfect Match is an extremely basic fruit matching game where for 15 seconds you have different fruits on different tiles, and when the 15 seconds is up, you have to go to a tile with the displayed fruit on screen, and if you're wrong, you fall. There are 3 rounds of this. First round is only 2 fruits, second round is 4 fruits, and the third round is 6 fruits. Sounds good in theory, but you can spend the whole game mashing the chicken taunt button and then watching for whatever tile has the most beans on it. And while it is risky to go to an overcrowded tile, I find that if you just stage dive onto the other beans on that tile, you're basically immune from death. In total, you're waiting a minute that feels like an eternity for a game you just want to end. I even encountered a speed hacker so fucking bored of this lousy game that they actually just began speed hacking around the tiles all game. At least they're having a good time, I guess. A game with a similar problem as Perfect Match at number 19 is Block Party, which is literally just a goddamn 1 minute and 30 second long auto-scroller. Just dodge the moving walls and dodge the other beans that get in your way. It's straightforward enough, but the problem comes at the last 15 seconds of the match, where you have to get through a small enclosed area with either oncoming walls or bars that you have to jump over until the track ends and the game is over. It's here that you are likely to die because another player grabs you or another player, and it creates something I call a bean orgy. In other words, you play an auto-scroller for over a minute before you get fucked over by something you most likely couldn't avoid at the finish line. So you're already playing a shitty auto-scroller, which is already a red flag, and then you have the final gauntlet, which is just more bullshit depending on how many players are remaining. It's not as insulting to me as Perfect Match, and it isn't as boring, but it isn't much better either. Next at number 18 is Egg Scramble. Remember that if you're losing, other players will gang up on you complaint I had with Hoarders? Well, this game is by far the worst case of that. You have 1 minute and 30 seconds to get the most eggs into your goal as possible, and the team with the least eggs in their basket once time is up is eliminated. White eggs are worth 1 point, gold are worth 5. It's a simple little minigame, but simplicity is the problem. Other teams can just look up at the scoreboard and see which team is losing, then spend the whole game in their net, stealing their eggs. Though stealing eggs out of another team's net is actually quite difficult, because your useless bean body has a hard time jumping up the steps leading back out of the goal and back into the field without constantly falling over and picking back up the egg you just worked hard to pick up. While this game can be enjoyable at times though, again, if you are the losing team, you just have to cope with that. Another team game at number 17, we have Hoopsie Daisy. I'm putting money down that whoever came up with that fucking name also designed this shit camera. I hate this fucking camera. Literally, this game would be a couple numbers ahead in the rankings at like number 15 if it wasn't for this camera glitching out anytime I go up a fucking ramp. Seriously though, to talk about hoop game for a moment, the goal is to jump for the most hoops as possible in 2 minutes. I swear to Christ there's a pattern to when these rings fall too, because I feel like other players just know when they will fall at which places at what exact time, because I always usually get destroyed in this one. The times when it is close match, however, this game can be quite fun. But then come down, the golden hoops worth 5 points, and I hate this hoop's existence every time I see it, because oftentimes what is a close game for second and last place soon becomes a clear runaway.
Fucking hoopsie days!
Yet another team game.
Are you seeing a fucking pattern yet here?
At number 16, we have Jinxed. And by Jinxed, I mean the pink fart cloud you have enveloping your bean bod. My favorite part from this bloody game is at the very start where the game just randomly decides 2 unlucky bastards to start as the Jinx players. Cause that's just the game telling you that you're too shit to even be allowed to try. The problem with this game is that every game of it's gonna feel like the same. It always comes down to the wire as a close game, usually one unaffected player in each team, until one of them finally fucks up. I feel like this game would work significantly better on a larger playing field, because the playing field is ridiculously small, as well as with more players jinxed at the start. At number 15, we have Seesaw, i.e. one of the 2 games you'd ever be eliminated from in round 1. It's also the shittiest race of all the race games too, as competitors have to navigate a number of seesaw platforms to the finish. There are several problems with this game. The first is if you don't hate people already, you will play in this game, because if you add up the IQ points of everyone in a game of Fall Guys, you'll probably get a single digit, because these idiots can't comprehend basic physics. Everyone doesn't seem to notice that if there are too many beans on one side, it will eventually capsize, though a lot of the time it could just be people griefing other players for kicks, especially when too many players are intentionally tipping a platform to one side, so players trying to jump onto that platform from the other side can't. Which, alright, the game has potential for making strategic plays, but this minigame, because of how it's designed, just likes to drag on and on. Falling off isn't even a game breaker because it takes forever, especially in the first round, for the allotted numbers of players required for next round to actually cross the finish line and move on to the next game. Which is unfortunate because if you finish early, it can be a long and boring wait for a game of Seesaw to conclude. And if you start in the back of the pack, oh Christ. Well, this is usually when you don't move on from the first round because you're gonna need to wait your turn to jump across the platforms, since if you just go for it, the platforms are likely to get overloaded on one side, and you and a bunch of other beans are gonna go sliding off the platform and into oblivion. The other game you could potentially lose at in round 1 is number 14, DoorDash. Competitors smash through 7 sets of doors. Some doors are real, while most of them are fake. Compared to Seesaw, you are a lot more likely to be eliminated in this game because of the pure luck factor involved in winning this. Also, if multiple beans try to go through an opening, chaos ensues as bean boys go flying all over the place and turn the doorways into bean orgies.
Oh, and he takes a full load from Herbie. He doesn't know whether to scream or smile.
Sometimes this can be advantageous and fly you forwards, but sometimes it can get you stuck in playing other beans forwards over your fallen failed bean body. While this game is more bullshit than Seesaw, it's at least fast-paced and somewhat fun, which puts it slightly ahead of Seesaw in the rankings. Next up, at number 13, it's Fall Mountain. And guess what? Start at the back of the pack in this game and you pretty much fucking lose.
Thank you so much for playing my game.
Start at the front of the pack though, and this could actually be a good challenge. Competitors have to run up a mountaintop with many obstacles in their way and jump to the crown floating above the summit of the mountain to win. Yep, it's a finalist game, and it's one I've never managed to win yet as of writing this review. Get destroyed by a boulder though and it's practically game over. It's an unforgiving race to the top, and while it's okay finalist minigame, it's a really short climb up to the top, and the other two games are much better compared to this. Also, I've encountered a speed hacker teleport their way from the bottom of the mountain to the top, so that also makes me a bit more bitter towards it.
Back to the action now. Our 6 competitors are standing at the starting line, but unfortunately for PG Bijan, they will have the huge disadvantage of starting at the back of the pack. The horn is blown and the competitors are off, and right out the gate the sneaky bastard is turning around at the start of the race, probably having something up his sleeve. It looks like PG Bijan is after him though, possibly thinking the sneaky bastard is going to cheat. Our other competitors of course include our bean favorite, the Velocibijan, which our cameraman has been following all game, who is currently following up from behind Buck Dean III, who plans on using his winnings here tonight to pay for the tuition of his youngest son, Buck Dean VI, for his Beanomics course at Beanbork University. Both Buck Dean and Velocibijan now reaching the first rotating door, and come up the other side now are Hot Dog and Bro Dude. Hot Dog narrowly avoiding 2 orbs, but then both Hot Dog and Bro Dude get annihilated by the 3rd orb. Buck Dean getting flung forward by a second rotating door, courtesy of an orb hitting it from the other side, and Bro Dude just gets grazed by another oncoming orb, causing him to lose his footing. Buck Dean and Velocibijan about to reach the halfway point, and now Velocibijan gets destroyed by an orb, but is quickly back to his feet. Buck Dean gets hit by a swinging hammer, but clears it, and is now making his way up the stairs. This looks like Buck Dean's game now. He's in the final stretch, and watch this from the back to the front, spawning in from nowhere. It's a sneaky bastard here to steal us away, folks. He's floating up the conveyor belt of shame, and now he's jumping. He's levitating like our Lord and Savior Beans and Christ towards that crown, and he's got it. This sneaky bastard steals the game away from Buck Dean. Looks like the Buck Dean VI will have to enroll at Brown University. His hopes and dreams stolen. What an upset. What an unfair, undeserved victory for the sneaky bastard. He lives up to his name, folks. If you can't beat them, you might as well cheat, because it ain't cheating if you don't get caught.
And on September 13th, 2020, I actually encountered another, though this guy was a lot more subtle about it, and I didn't make a quirky edit for this one either. Got him. Getting into the games, I find that actually pretty decent now. At number 12, it's Telltale. Yeah, I'll admit, I like the Tale games. Drink bleach. I feel like there's at least a level of skill and cunningness required to do well at these games. Pretty much the exact same game as Roll Fumble, with multiple tails, and on what is half the size of the field. Half the players will have tails and half don't. If you have a tail, run, and if you don't, steal someone else's tail by grabbing a player with a tail from behind. Whoever has his tail at the end of the time limit moves on to the next round. At first, I didn't like this one, but I quickly caught on to using a couple strategies. The first one I came up with was, if I started with, or if I'd just stolen a tail, I'd run underneath the raised platform, because the camera being top down but zoomed in sorta and kinda on an angle. Would you believe me if I said I was currently in school studying television and film production? Anyways, yeah, with how that camera is positioned, it makes it kind of hard to see players under there. And that strategy worked for a while, but eventually other competitors caught on to my cunning. Another thing I caught on to rather quickly is that players with tails often just stay at the top of the platforms and dive jump from ledge to ledge for the entire game until their tail is eventually stolen. So I began enacting this strategy and had been mostly successful using it. Even if the tail I have is stolen from me at the last few seconds, it can be an adrenaline rush to race to get it back before the match ends. I guess to sum it up, I do well at this game, so I like it. Moving on. Next at number 11, we have Fruit Shoot. The game mostly boils down to luck and is perhaps the most simple game in design and objective. Run up the conveyor belt, dodge the fruit, and jump the pretzel? Is pretzel fruit? And make it across the finish line to win. My strategy has always been run to the sides of the conveyor belt, since the bumpers act as a sort of protection. It also lets you avoid the pretzel that only rolls down the center. And eventually the cannons at the top of the goal will start firing berries if someone gets too close enough to the goal. If anything, the fruit isn't that much of a threat. It's the other players on the conveyor belt who are more of a threat because they get in your way of avoiding the fruit, or can grab you so you both get destroyed by a giant banana. It's unforgiving, since if you get knocked off the conveyor belt, you just lose. But it's hectic fun for what it is, and it keeps you on your toes the whole match. Breaking into the top 10 now at number 10 and 9, it's Jump Club. and its finalist counterpart, Jump Showdown. You ever seen the double sweeper on that show Wipeout? Well, what if we stole that, gave it the most generic fucking name imaginable, and made that a minigame? If that isn't enough, let's do it again on August 12th, make it a finalist game and instead paint it gold, and make parts of the floor randomly fall until only 2 parts are remaining. I only got footage of the Jump Showdown variant once, and it wasn't even me playing it. It was my friend Taravan, whom I played with quite a bit in the party play, which I'll go over later. There's a reason as to why I didn't see this game show up much in rotation, too. Jump Showdown hadn't been introduced in the game yet until August 12th, but Mediatonic soon took it out of rotation a week later after discovering a problem with the game. On Dexerto.com, there's a clip from Nene Mato that shows the problem. Apparently the platform ledges on Jump Showdown were originally grabbable, so whenever the last piece fell, if you dive jumped and grabbed onto the ledge of the remaining platform, you've basically secured victory or the game going on forever if more than one player had done this. I was late to the party with this game and began streaming it for Splashdown on August 19th, 2020, so at the time of streaming, for a while it didn't exist in rotation. It wasn't until the 28th on the last Fall Guys stream I did, minus the bonus stream for Royal Fumble on September 6th, that I finally get this game to show up in finals. Anyways, both games have the problem of feeling really slow. The bar takes a while to get up to full speed, and really you only ever die from another player grabbing you, or the bad camera angle not properly showing if the 2 bars are overlapping one another and just getting flung off because you can't jump it. Jump Showdown at least adds something, even if that something is just a random luck element that can potentially screw the player up. This minigame, it isn't great, but it's innocent enough, and it achieves that game show aesthetic the game is going for, though it really is because they just stole the double sweeper from Wipeout. Next up, it might be a controversial choice, but at number 8, it's Team Tail Tag, the only team game that features the rare and endangered green team, as it is the only team game to incorporate 4 teams. This automatically, whether you like this game or not, makes this the best team game of the lot, because it decreases the chances of failure. There's not much point talking about the game itself, it's tail tag but with a team, you know, because it's in the name. Great fucking writing there, Splash. The strategy I've always utilized is grab a tail and run on the conveyor belt till the tail gets stolen or the game ends. If I don't have a tail, run around the conveyor belt till I can cut someone off and steal their tail, or hang around the hammers up top and hope someone with a tail gets knocked over near you. I don't even care about my team in this game unless someone on my team steals my tail from the start, because so long as I'm doing my part to win, even if we get eliminated, I can still at least have solace in the fact that it wasn't my fault we lost. Still, screw team games, but if Mediatonic insists we keep them, in Season 2, this one is the best one in the lot. At number 7, we have what is basically DoorDash, but better, with Gate Crash. Run for the moving gates and cross the finish line, simple as that. However, while DoorDash is entirely luck-based, Gate Crash is more timing-based. The gates follow a specific pattern, and, well, once you've memorized it, the game is like clockwork. The complexity factor comes in at the end on the slime ramp, where you have to time when you go down the ramp and not just when to jump through which door. Gate Crash is a simple race and makes for a quick and easy round, but you really gotta pay attention to the gate's patterns, because mistakes can be costly in this one. Since we just compared Gate Crash with DoorDash, at number 6 we'll compare Block Party to its far better counterpart, Rollout. Well, sorta counterpart anyways. Competitors run around a set of 5 rotating rings with gaps, walls, and bumpers and have to try to stay alive as long as possible until a set number of players have been eliminated. So, there's no timer, it isn't an auto-scroller, and thinking about it more, it isn't a counterpart to Block Party at all, but it's still better, damn it. I've only ever been eliminated from this game a few times, and usually it's because I misjudge how little space you have on the rings, so I accidentally go too close to the edge and lose my footing. I honestly don't even know how other players get eliminated so quickly in this one. I've always found the strategy is stay far away from other beans as you can, and that applies to every game. Stick to the sections of the rings that are bigger or have walls on them, never on the tiny platforms, and especially never on the platforms with bumpers on them, and try to run back and forth between the same couple rings. The rings eventually start spinning pretty fast too if the game goes on too long. Maybe this is more the counterpart to Jump Club than it is Block Party. Both games are pretty much identically the same, just that one is more interesting and original of a concept than the other is. Maybe Rollout will also someday get a finalist variant of itself. It'd only be fair. Now into the top 5, and this is where the game really excels in both its gameplay and TV game show aesthetic. Number 5, number 4, and number 3, we have the obstacle courses of Hit Parade, the Whirligig, and Dizzy Heights. The least interesting and worst design of the 3 is definitely Hit Parade. You've got balance beams, rotating doors, swinging pendulums, and a slime ramp to work with here. So you've got quite a bit of variety going on here, but compared to the fast-paced, hectic, and chaotic nature of the other 2 obstacle course games that it's up against here, Hit Parade is a far cry away in terms of being as fun and as interesting of an obstacle course. It's also more unforgiving as slow pace makes it so that any sort of screw up could potentially cost you moving on to the next round. Basically, if you get hit by a swinging pendulum, or stuck on the slime lamp at the end because a bumper pushing you backwards and costing you all your momentum, or because another player grabs you, the odds of you actually making it to rounds 2 or 3 are pretty much cut down to half or even a third of what it was from the start. As for Dizzy Heights and Whirligig, it was tough to determine which I prefer more. Dizzy Heights is a lot more predictable and simpler in design, being an obstacle course chock full of circular, conveyor belts, and orb cannons, and is purely meant to be a fast-paced speed round. While Whirligig is more hectic and unpredictable due to its gimmick of rotating blades and beams, smacking bean boys all over the place. In the end, it was a close contest, but I gotta put Dizzy Heights over Whirligig here, and that's for one simple reason. Whirligig has a kind of tricky shortcut you can pull off at the end of it that breaks it a bit. My friend Taravan, who also was the one who supplied me with the Jump Showdown footage, he showed me that if you run around the giant conveyor belt at the end and go on the first platform on the left, run towards the edge of that platform heading for the middle platform with the checkpoint on it, jump at the edge of that platform and dive towards the middle platform.
I probably explained this very shittily.
If you do it just right, you can make it to the center platform without having to go completely around or,
Look, let's be honest, you're fucking going around.
So that now brings us to Dizzy Heights at number 3. Competitors run along spinning platforms at high speed and dodge oncoming balls shot from orb cannons. That's really the gist of it. It's a simple obstacle course, but it works as a perfect way to start off a game of Fall Guys. It's also just a brilliant stage to use as an introductory to the game for new players without knowing how the course works. And I think that's intended too, because this game is pretty much a free victory anytime it shows up for me. Also, if you look at the part of the stage with the suspended spinning platforms, if you fall off there, it's not like Hit Parade where you just have to start over again. There is actually an alternative path with revolving spinner bumpers with holes through them that players can navigate through to get back onto the path. Though it is still definitely a time loss, it isn't the end of the match for you. Really, if you were to lose this, it's because you fell off the elevated spinning platforms and lost a lot of time taking the alternate paths, or you got destroyed by an orb on the final set of platforms, or right before the finish line. If there's any one minigame that I'd like to start every game of Fall Guys with, it'd be Dizzy Heights. Next up at the number 2 slot, being by far the greatest of the 4 finalist games, it's Hexagon. So as of writing this review, I've been crowned as Fall Guys champion 6 times. One was for Jump Showdown, one recently for Fall Mountain, which I literally won today as of writing this on September 15th, 2020, and 4 for this game right here.
The only one of those wins was on stream.
There are 8 sets of hexagonal tiles suspended above the pink goo, and the competitors must try to stay on these the longest in order to win. And if someone steps on a tile, it'll disappear in about half a second. Despite winning this one 3 times now, I don't really have a definite strategy for it, since there are multiple strategies you can utilize to win. Do you try to stay as high as above the slime as possible, or do you fall down a few sets of hexagons to remove tiles from the lower tiers, so that when players higher up eventually fall, they'll have nowhere safe to land? Do you try to get in the way of other players, cutting them off and causing them to run out of tiles faster than you? Or do you slowly and methodically hop from tile to tile to reduce the rate you eliminated tiles for yourself to move on? Well, you kind of want to have a mixture of all these strategies, really. The best thing I found to do is to try to create some distance for yourself, but running along the tiles to create a safe island of hexagons for you to slowly hop around and buy time as other players begin to get eliminated. I've won 2 of my free games while still in the final set of purple tiles with this strategy, but unfortunately the game I won on stream doesn't reflect that strategy well, as I won by a mere fluke that I managed to barely not fall into the goop before the other final remaining player did. This is a complete mind game of skill and strategy to try to outwit and outplay however many other competitors also make it to this game in the finals. It isn't unfair like Fall Mountain, it isn't bullshit like Jump Showdown, and it isn't Royal Fumble. This is hands down the quintessential way of finishing off a game of Fall Guys. However, it isn't my favorite minigame, which now brings us to number 1. As much as I've won and sung high praises for Hexagon, I gotta say that for my number 1 most favorite minigame in Fall Guys Season 1, it has to be Slime Climb. Slime Climb is a one-of-a-kind game in Fall Guys. Competitors run up a gigantic vertical obstacle course consisting of blockers, an orb cannon, more blockers, a conveyor belt with bumpers on it, swinging hammers, more blockers, and then a final platform of slime with a set of bumpers and some pendulums above it before reaching the finish line.
I think you see a gimmick here.
Every obstacle is meant to knock you further down the mountain. And here's where that slime climb bit comes in. As soon as the race begins, slime will slowly start rising. If anyone touches the slime, automatic elimination. It's like the other 3 main obstacle races I mentioned at number 5, 4, and 3, but it does something no other game in Fall Guys seems to do. This one actually has the balls to just say, fuck you. You aren't good enough to exist, to be a part of this competition, of this world. It's the cream of the crop, the competition that proves one's worthiness, that separates the wheat from the chaff, the bean men from the bean boys. I could have easily given Hexagon the #1 spot as well, but that feels like cheating since it's a finalist game. You've already proven your worth of being champion just by getting there, no matter which of the 4 games you roll. From the moment I first played Slime Climb, before even thinking about writing up a review for this game, I knew that this was going to be a hard to top as my favorite minigame in Fall Guys. Slime Climb succeeds at everything it needs to succeed at. It's a fun game, it's challenging but fair, it's well designed, and it fits in with the game's overall aesthetic of being a game show. For those reasons alone, Slime Climb is my #1 top rated minigame in Fall Guys Season 1. Well, that's all 25 of the minigames currently in Fall Guys Season 1 now out of the way, and while I've gone through all the games now, there's still a little bit more that I'd like to go over here in this review. Namely, I haven't spoken about the main menu, the experience system and level up rewards, the shop, the cosmetics, the 2 currencies of the game, and the invite player system yet. Let's start with the main menu since that ties into most of the other things mentioned here. I didn't go over this earlier because it's minor, but here's the menu. First on the taskbar you have 5 different tabs: your lobby, your customization menu, your currencies in progress, your in-game store, and your settings menu. You also have 2 currencies, but we'll get into that once we talk about the shop. First you have your lobby, and the only things of note here is your invite players button and your preset username. Your username used to be changeable, but Mediatonic soon disabled that. They removed it because of 2 reasons. The first was deemed as offensive language, in which if that were the case add a filter to it, but the other reason was because players changing their names at the time were breaking the UI somehow. I have no other information on this other than what's online, so hopefully it returns in Season 2. Next up is your customization menu. Here you can change the appearance of your Beam Boy and customize your Beam Boy's theatrics. Next up in the seasons menu, here you can look at the unlocks for the seasons as you level up throughout playing the game. Max level is 40, and I assume that come October 6th these items will become obsolete and your level will reset to 1. Next up is a shopping menu, and here we can buy customizations. There are 2 currencies in the game: Kudos Coins, which is the currency you get just for participating in the game, and Crowns, which you can get only for being crowned champion at a game of Fall Guys, or you can get a couple as a level up reward for the season. Featured items change every 3 days, and the regular items change every 24 hours. There are also 2 kinds of DLC to this game: the icon that just says DLC store that lets you buy unique costumes not sold in game, and there's the Kudos store if you like throwing away money. Well, we're nearing the end of the review now, but the last thing I want to go over here is the invite players function. A lot of the footage I captured for the review was done with the help of my friends Terravan and Zero Gravian. Basically, your friends just join you in the lobby, and when you start a game, they join with you. If you roll a team game, your friends join you on the same team. All of this seems to work so far, but there is this glaring issue still with the party play. If you finish a race before your friends, or if you get eliminated but still want to spectate them to see if they win the competition, the camera doesn't automatically auto-track the people in your party. It still defaults to a random beam, and so you have to cycle through the participants in the game until you find who you think is one of your friends, which requires memorizing their player number. The only thing left that I can say about the game currently is during the write-up of this review, which took from September 8th to September 15th to finish writing, the game underwent a major update. Mediatonic had finally added in the promised anti-cheat system to filter out the speed hacking problem the game has had since launch. Also introduced in the update was a giant hammer called Big Yeetus, which is a hammer that can randomly either assist or hinder random players at any given time. But perhaps the biggest thing added in this update is the dynamic variations added to every game so that not every game is always the same. So if you're feeling burned out in the game before because of that, it might be time to return to it. Finally, we've come to the ultimate question. Do I recommend it? Well, given that it costs around $20, that I've clocked in over 48 hours playing it since I got it, that it is packed full of many fun and challenging minigames, has a massive user base right now, just underwent a massive update that revamps the game completely, and is confirmed that there is plenty of new content coming down the pipeline on October 6th, when Season 2 of the game begins. If you haven't bought this game already, definitely do so. I will be sure to start working on making a review video for Fall Guys Season 2 once it comes out in October. Well, that's the end of the review, the launch of Splashdown. Thank you to everyone who watched the video all the way to the end. If you like the content and want more, be sure to like, comment, and subscribe. Also, in commemoration of the launch of Splashdown, I just launched the Patreon page. So if you want to help support the channel and would like to see more review videos happen more frequently, consider donating to the Patreon. All funds will go towards helping me out financially and being able to upgrade my hardware so I can start working on these videos at a faster rate and at a higher quality. Once again, thanks for watching. I hope to see you all next video.